as promised, guys, here is our Jaws 2 movie review. So, welcome back to ROC Movie Reviews. Marco is once again joining me. Yeah. So, what we have to review today, as I've already said, is Jaws 2.
Disease of evil can compare with the reality of Jaws.
Now, this film I also saw a couple months ago, right after the first one, and was pleasantly surprised by it.
How bad it was?
No, pleasantly surprised by how average it was. It wasn't bad. It wasn't fantastic either. It's not on the same level as the first one, but like I said in our Jaws 1 review, I feel like this movie gets a lot of unnecessary hate. I mean, the tagline of the movie is, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. That alone is a very, I don't know if I want to say famous, but I've heard that tagline a lot in other movies trying to copy this one. And copy the first one. So, on that level, I think it deserves more respect because it's not a bad movie. I mean, there's a couple things that are a little annoying and some scenes that don't make a whole lot of sense, but for the most part, I mean, it's not Jaws 3 and it's not Jaws 4. So, yeah.
You know, that's already a plus.
Yeah, it's already a plus. I mean, we haven't beaten you guys over the head with the fact that you shouldn't watch 3 or 4, then I don't know what to do.
Well, I mean, we can't touch the people, so how are we supposed to beat them up the head?
And the puns continue. Yeah, so, Jaws 2. Obviously, the story, it's the first one, but there's a couple of new elements thrown in. You've got Martin Brody, once again played by Roy Scheider. He, once again, has to figure out why there's killings happening at the beach. This takes place a couple years after the first one, I believe, right?
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it does.
Right.
And the first killing of, like, the shark coming back or whatever, it's kind of random. And it's the only scene that I think we might put a clip in. It's the only scene that actually made me laugh because it's just, I don't know if it makes a whole lot of sense. You know, it's supposed to be, like, scary and horrific of what's happening, and I kind of was like, wait, sorry, what? So, but it's a scene where you've got the, I mean, the poster for Jaws 2 is the water skier, and then you see Jaws coming up over her and, like, getting ready to munch her.
Right.
And it's early in the movie where you see a water skier and a woman in a boat, and they're just, you know, having fun and everything, and then we see the fin, and Jaws starts to, you know, appear, and obviously this is a different shark, even though it's still being called Jaws. So, whatever, but...
I mean, it's funny how the shark just adapted the name Jaws.
Yeah, I know.
The shark doesn't actually have a name.
I mean, the shark has jaws, so...
I mean, we have Jaws. There's like a million of Jaws in
Yeah.
every movie. There's like more than one Jaws, because all the people have Jaws, so...
If they called the movie Mouse, it wouldn't be nearly as interesting.
Like Shark Tooth.
Shark Tooth?
Yeah, you're not going to get too far with that.
No, Jaws is such an iconic name at this point. Unfortunately, you know, it started off strong and then took a really, really far dip back into the water. And by dip, I mean like it really went downhill.
Dip in the water.
I tried to pun. I'm sorry. But anyways, the scene of the water skier, you know, the shark attacks the woman in the boat after killing the water skier. Like, you just see the skis. She's gone, you know? I think it, like, munches her or something. And the girl on the boat, I think she... What does she have? She has some sort of a weapon that, like... I don't know if it's not a flamethrower. Why am I thinking flamethrower? I think it's like a... some sort of a lighter or something? I don't remember. But somehow the boat catches on fire and then burns part of the shark's face. So it's like, okay. And then all of a sudden the boat explodes. It's like...
Oh, that's a thing. Who had a bomb?
That just happened.
Who had a bomb on the boat?
Yeah, I didn't know boats were, like, highly combustible just because, you know, it caught on fire. It doesn't automatically blow up. I mean, I don't understand that first scene, you know. But it does add for a creepier scene later on. By creepy, I mean, like, startling. We get that usual corpse scene that's in all 4 of the Jaws movies. But in the second one, you see, like, I think Scheider sees this piece of driftwood in the water, and he picks it up or something, right, to retrieve it, and then it's the charred woman's body like her corpse from the boat, and it's just like it kind of like jumps on him or whatever. It's like, oh god! So that did startle me. I didn't know what was gonna happen because I was like, oh, it's just a piece of driftwood. No, it's not. Okay.
Well, that's a weird looking driftwood.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what starts off the whole, like, oh, we need to, we have another shark problem. And I love how all of the cast talks about how, no, we already went through this in the first movie. We can't have another shark problem on our heads, especially the mayor.
Self-awareness.
Right, who's still being incredibly, like, frustrating and just stupid, He's just like, nope, we're still going to have people on the beach and all that, so.
Business.
Yeah, it's very similar. In fact, there's one scene where Brody actually takes a gun and, like, he's telling everybody to get out of the water because he's, like, a little more paranoid in this one than he is the first one because he almost died in the first one. I mean, that's reason enough to be kind of paranoid. Yeah, more paranoid. Shark! So he's ringing the bell, asking all of them to get out of the water. And then he, like, starts shooting at it, and I think it's just a little, like, area of fish in the water. It looks like a shark. Like, it's darker water. And he just starts shooting at it, and then everyone's looking at him like, what are you doing? And, it's kind of...
I'm trying to prevent piranhas.
Yeah, it could have been piranhas. I have no idea. I don't remember what they said it was, but it wasn't a shark. And him shooting was, like, played up, and the mayor was, like, vilifying him and everything, so, And, there's really no reason to touch on acting, as I already said. Roy Scheider, boom, his wife... Ellen Brody, I can't remember who plays her right now, and it's just escaping me, her name. And then you've got the mayor, who I also cannot remember the name of. The only person that you really care about in the sequel, or that I cared about, was Roy Scheider.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, because, I mean, he still brings it in the second one, but I remember hearing about the contract. He didn't want to do a second Jaws because he didn't think it would be like as authentic and all that. And
I mean, he's right.
yeah, and then he was smart enough to get out before the third and the fourth because he was in the second one.
Train wrecks those were.
Yeah, they were train wrecks. He elevated the level of quality that Jaws 2 was. I think if he wasn't in the movie, this would probably be considered on par with Jaws 3, maybe it's still a little better, but I'm not really sure. So. I don't know, but those are the only people you really care about, him in particular. We also get these kids who are constantly, like, together, and I think one of Scheider's sons is always with them or something. A couple of his sons, I think.
It's more like just a whatever, go back to school.
Right, yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
what are you doing here?
And you see all these kids and the parasailing and all that, and that's okay, but the kids aren't very interesting, and they're also quite annoying with their... They don't have great chemistry together, and they're just really, like... Actually, I'd like the kids to die now, actually.
What?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, no, I mean, it's just... The dialogue's not the greatest for them, so that's kind of one of the aspects about Jaws 2 that kind of brings it down for me.
I mean, they are kids. They don't have to say anything.
Okay, sorry,
they don't have to say
teenagers.
anything, really.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I mean, kids and teenagers. And a lot of them scream, like, profusely near the end of the movie, and it's like, okay, we get it, you're scared, but, like, there's one... woman that, like, will not stop screaming. I was like, you're going through a seizure? What is happening?
Right.
It's like, shut up.
Is it better than, like, the camera just being on a kid who just turns to the camera? That's like a shocked look.
That would be better, because it wouldn't be hurting your eardrums. So, and that girl, in general, I mean, I think she ends up living. Most of the kids do. I think, actually, all of them do. But it just... if the kids weren't in the movie, I think it would have been a more interesting movie, but they had to add something. And the kids were in the good portion of the movie, so it's you watch the first Jaws and you're like, oh, this is incredible. And you watch Jaws 2 and you're like, yeah, this will suffice.
Yeah,
and then you just stop. And then you just stop after that.
It's like, I guess, whatever.
So, again, it's a pretty average movie. The action, I mean, we've already touched on the story, very similar story to the first one. Action in the movie, they show more of the shark in this one. So the whole suspense element is kind of gone. I mean, they still have suspense here and there. But besides having parasailers and, being a lot closer to the water than not in a boat, that's the only aspect that really still scared me. So,
yeah.
But, I mean, again, the kids and the screaming and the movie ends instead with Scheider going out, to this... don't even remember. It's like a little island or something that has like a power station on it, and he has to try to get the kids, parasailers, and them onto the island before the shark keeps attacking them. And instead of blowing him up like in all the other 3 movies, I don't know why explosions are so fond with sharks, but
explosions are hype.
Apparently. Well, I mean, the explosion in Jaws of Revenge has no merit whatsoever. It doesn't make sense. I've already talked about it. But what happens in the end of the second one is he actually, like, takes a cord from the bottom of the ocean. I don't remember how he gets it. I think he, like, hooks it with the anchor or something, pulls it up, and then, like, shoves it into the shark's mouth and electrocutes it. And then part of the shark kind of blows up with it because it's being electrocuted.
Weird.
Yeah, it kind of, like, catches on fire and gets...
Art explode?
Yeah, I know, it's weird. And then he just sinks into the water. So as far as the climax, it's not quite as satisfying as the first one, where it's just like, smile, you son of a...
Right.
And that was so awesome. And no movie in the Jaws franchise has topped that and will never top that. But I think the fact that they did it and they electrocuted, it was more intimate because Charlie was, like, right there with the shark. I mean, at least when he shot him in the first one, he was farther away. So there was a different level of fear with that one. He wasn't quite as scared. He was more, like, determined. In the second one, he's, like, in a raft, or we're looking at him just as the shark is getting electrocuted. And he's like, oh, God, I'm a little too close.
Right?
So, and they end up getting on the island, and the kids are safe and all that. And just like the first one, the movie ends fairly abruptly. We don't get any really closure as far as...
It's just like...
Yeah.
Okay.
End credits roll. First one, it was okay, because you're like, oh, Hooper and Brody are going to make it back to the island because they're swimming back, and you see them swimming back. And then you get, like, a shot of the sunset or something. That's a little more closure. This one is simply, save the kids, get to the island, shark got electrocuted, okay, done. And roll credits.
Right.
So, and this is only a little shorter than the first Jaws. It's just about, an hour and 57 minutes. It's just about the length of the first Jaws. And yet, parts of the scene, some scenes feel like they don't really need to be there.
Yeah.
So, if some scenes in Jaws 2 feels a little bit like filler. But other than that, I still think it's a good movie. And, touched on story, acting, action, more special effects than action, because this doesn't have nearly as much action as the first one does, I would say. It's sprinkled throughout the movie, but there's less of it. I mean, the boat exploding and the woman being charred and all that randomness, that was like the most climactic scene in the movie. Besides the shark being
and exploding.
Yeah, and sort of exploding. It's like a half explosion. I don't really even know. It's just like, he's already burned, that whole part of it was like,
what?
Okay.
What?
I don't know. John Williams' score, once again used in this. No reason to rehash what we've already said about it. It's great. It's iconic. And, it's good for the movie. I think Jaws 1 and 2... have merit for using it. I feel like the fact that they used it in 3 and 4, Actually, I feel like 3 and 4 shouldn't even exist, so... Yeah. If they just stopped with 2, they wouldn't have tarnished the Jaws name. But more people were like, we need to make more money, and,
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Jaws 19.
Right,
I mean,
no.
Come on.
That's true. We don't have a Jaws 19, thank God. That would be pretty awful. That would just become like a joke at that point, so, I don't really want to talk anymore about it. Not because it's a bad movie, but just because I've said all I've needed to say. I don't know if you've said all you've needed to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same thing as Jaws 1, so,
Just a
everything's
couple
already
of
been said.
new elements, that's all.
Nothing really got expanded upon in any way. Not really the characters of the shark or anything.
It's satisfying, it will suffice for a sequel, and it's not nearly as bad as the other sequels. I feel like it gets some unnecessary hate. So, without further ado,
It's fine.
I'm going to give Jaws 2 a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. It's a little above average in my opinion. 5 out of 10 is about an average for me, so.
That's what I'm doing. I'm doing 5.
You're doing 5?
Yeah, I mean, didn't really it did everything that Jaws 1 did, but, everything a little bit worse. It didn't really expand upon, like, any characters or story, other places or whatever. So,
yeah, other characters weren't...
It's about average.
And other characters, like the kids, weren't really given enough to do, and they're just kind of there.
Right.
Yeah, so...
it's about average.
Whatever. You don't really feel one way or another about them. You don't hate them, but you also do not want to, you know, see them live. I guess I don't know.
Well, I mean, you want
know.
to see them live. You just don't want to see them in the movie.
Right, exactly. It's like you can live. Just can you walk off screen, please?
Go away.
Yeah, exactly.
Bye.
Yeah. So you're gonna rate it 5 out of 10?
Yeah, 5.
Okay, that's good. That's pretty good. 5, 6 out of 10. I do recommend seeing Jaws 2 if you've never seen the first one and you end up seeing the first one. It's worth it to watch the second one. I will say it's not worth it as far as multiple viewings, though. You can see Jaws 2 once and you'll be satisfied. Jaws 1, that you can watch as many times as possible, and it just becomes better and better, in my opinion, when you watch it.
Right?
Yeah. Because it's a classic, just like Jurassic Park. You watch that multiple times and you're like, oh, it's just great. Because nostalgia, you know, and feels all over the place.
Mm.
Nostalgic feels, of course. So,
right.
Yeah. That's all I have to say about Jaws 2.
It's not that the movie feels like it's all over the place. No. That's not it.
No, that's not what I mean.
Because it's just really just in one place.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so that's Jaws 2. I recommend seeing it if you have never seen it, but at this point, if you haven't, then you're probably not going to, so.
Right.
That's it. You are done, as far as things to say. I'm done. We'll go, hopefully we will see you guys in our review of The Shallows, which is a much more recent shark attack film, and I'm excited to talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining me, and hopefully we'll see you guys in our review for The Shallows. Peace out, guys.